Know this about perfectionism. I've been a clinical psychologist for 8 years, and this is what I know. Perfectionism is a way of living or behaving that includes trying to always do more. This is usually linked to the fear of not doing enough or not being good enough as a human being. What I often see is that a person with perfectionism can have very high standards for themselves and their own performance or what they need to do, but that doesn't apply to the people around them, as in, they don't expect others to do the same or perform the same. My clients with perfectionism will often have positive opinions of their friends and family and think that they are good enough, irrespective. But when it comes to their judgments of themselves, it's different. I often hear examples like, yeah, my friend skipped a class because she needed some time to herself. That is so good and good for her. I'll then ask the client what they would think if they took a day off, and often the answer is very different. Oh, I couldn't. That would make me behind, and I don't want to be lazy. In other examples, the client would tell me about their friend who just got a bad mark. They might say, yeah, the teacher didn't give her a chance, and the material she had to work with was super confusing and not well taught. She did her best. If I would ask my client about them in the same situation, I would likely hear, the low grade is my fault. I didn't try hard enough. I'm stupid. Everybody other than me would have been able to do it. I just messed up. I'm such an idiot. What difference do you hear between the two? It's the same situation. It's just different interpretations of the situation. Usually, perfectionism is going on between me and me. It's not about a general worldview or view on others, but mostly about a view on ourselves. It includes life rules that we should follow in order to not fall into the hole of being not good enough. What I see with my clients is that not meeting the high standards or expectations will usually lead to massive regret or self-criticism. In perfectionism, this reaction is typically about ego preserving. Did you become angry with yourself for not meeting your own standards? You might also see anger towards others, but this is more product of trying to defend oneself from a massive personal defeat. For example, with a bridezilla yelling at the flower girl for not walking straight. The anger is not at the flower girl for not being perfect. It's the execution of the bride's plans that are not perfect, and that falls back in her mind to her being a failure. Perfectionism can be tiring and cause problems for well-being. I don't hold an opinion on whether perfectionism is good or bad. It's not my role to judge if it's good or bad, but instead it's my role to give knowledge and help where help is needed to make life easier. Just like a driving instructor's job is not to judge your driving, instead their role is to help you know what you can do to get a smoother and more efficient ride overall. I can offer my clients to get to know more about their perfectionism and give them the tools to control it better should they want to. This is how I do that. I tell them about why prioritization is key. That trying to get everything perfect might be too stressful and lead to inefficiency and bad moods. And that it can be ideal to choose what things matter most and use one's energy on doing well there. This holds that one can view one's perfectionism as not a general thing, but something one can dosage and choose. We can talk about the perfectionism as a part, but not all of you. It's something that you live with to the extent that you find it useful. You can choose to allow your perfectionism to control some things, but not others. You can choose which areas of your life you'll allow it and which you don't. Feeling in control and taking control is often the most helpful tool in minimizing the consequences of self-criticism and self-hatred or burnout. I try to offer both knowledge about perfectionism and the power we hold, and to help my clients be flexible. Some are not willing to let go of their perfectionism as they find that it helps them. Sometimes being a perfectionist can be helpful and help us. For those clients, it's helpful to talk about control and where perfectionism is helpful and wanted and where it should be reduced. Whether they wish to abandon perfectionism or just make friends with it, I find it helpful to start with talking about it like something that's separate to ourselves. Like a friend we can make use of when we want to, and to put on the balcony when we don't need her. Don't do that to your real friends, by the way. In this flexible navigation of perfectionism lies prioritization. When should our perfectionist be allowed to help us? Which areas of life is she wanted in? Prioritization is key in avoiding stress or burnout as a cause of perfectionism or doing too much. Talking to my client about this can look like the following. I'll tell my client that in my experience there are 6 important categories that we care about as humans. They are safety, here under housing and money, family, friends, personal interests, work or school, and body, looks, health, mental health. I usually draw the categories for them in a pie diagram. Here I'll draw the 6 categories in equal size slices. I'll then talk to the client about what they think happens if I try to put more effort into one category. What will happen to the size of the other slices? This is to illustrate that if we use more effort in one area of life, then we'll likely have to use less effort in another. Using the pie diagram is also to illustrate the very important fact that we only get 100%. Not 110 or 1,000 as our perfectionism might require for us to do all that we think we must. Most clients I see will not have had this reflection about their perfectionism. They might say out loud that perfectionism is bad, but secretly they might not think so, or they are in doubt of what they should use less effort on. I'll show them that these rough categories are what people find valuable, and that because we don't have more than 100%, we'll likely have to prioritize our efforts into the categories that matter the most for us. It's not that I don't want them to have a happy life. It's just that if we try to put great efforts into all categories at once, we'll tend to become stressed out or struggle with our mental health. And often, when we struggle with our mental health, that impacts our ability to function overall, which might leave us with not being able to do anything that we value at all. Therefore, whether we like it or not, we'll likely have to prioritize. That is, to choose what categories we want to put first. If we're trying to do all at the same time, we're likely to fail. If we're trying to ace them all, we're likely to feel poorly. This will be due to becoming stressed out from trying and reaching the realization of lack of success, because to ace all at once is impossible. My clients will often have had many experiences in their lives with this. Experiences when they tried to do all and that led them to feel miserable or fail. This might have led to self-criticism and self-blame, and they would have tried to adhere to their life rules even more, letting themselves know that they should just try harder and be better, continuing the pattern of perfectionism, stress, and suffering. Usually when I get to meet a client, it's because they are in distress, that they're not okay, and that they would like to feel better. Often I see great distress in my clients with a lot of perfectionism. It might take more than one meeting for me to motivate them to consider their perfectionism as one of the sources of their suffering. But when we reach that point, where they are able to talk about their perfectionism as both a helper but also something that should be limited due to harsh limits of reality and not to burn out, we'll then try and do so. I work with a ton with perfectionism in my years of practice. In my work, I've come to believe that 3 might be the magic number in prioritizing our efforts. 3 meaning that we're able to put effort into 3 of the 6 categories and still maintain mental health. 3 is not 6, and that can be a provocation to hear for some of my clients who want to excel in all of their categories. I will again impress on them that trying to ace all and end up failing at all is likely worse than actually being able to be competent in 3, and that those can be switched out from time to time. As long as we don't try to do more than 3 at the same time. Sometimes I'll ask my clients to guess what the 3 priorities or categories are for people they know. Their parents, their partner, friends, teachers, colleagues. It's always interesting to hear how one parent might be prioritizing home, the family, and their personal interests. How another person in their life might prioritize money, work, and friends. How another values fitness, healthy eating, and school, and so on. Having the client imagine the priorities of the people they know can sometimes help them see the point I'm trying to make. That doing all 6 is not possible, and that people who have successful or good lives prioritize. It doesn't mean that a person who prioritizes family, the home, and personal interests don't have friends, work, or maintains health of their body, but it means that they don't put it first, and that they likely give it little effort or little conscious effort. As a first step in looking at perfectionism, I'll often give the homework to think more about your own categories. Which ones would you like to prioritize, and which ones has to be put on maintenance or hold? I think this is all we had time for. What was your takeaway from today's video? As always, feel free to take away the information you can use, if any, and leave the rest. Hopefully you found that today's topic made sense and I didn't waste your time. Please like or subscribe so my channel can grow. Take care and see you for the next one.